Come, you masters of war.
We're going back to Ray McGovern here in a moment to get into the Predator drones and where he sees Afghanistan and Pakistan going. And basically, he says they're repeating the same things that happened in Vietnam, but now they have fancier weaponry. We'll go back to him in just a moment. We're going to get into North Korea with him and the situation with Iran, which to me is even scarier, the whole Iran situation. A quagmire is one thing and get a lot of troops killed and waste a lot of money, but war with Iran, in my layman research, looks even worse. So we'll discuss that in a moment with our guest. SurvivalSeedBank.com. I'll tell you about a few of the sponsors that have made today's radio show possible. I love gardening. These are non-GMO, non-hybrid seeds. And you ought to buy one seed bank. I mean, seeds last for decades. Well, longer than that. Papyrus from 3,000-year-old tombs in Egypt have been grown, but you won't need it in 3,000 years. We know that. The point is, it's a survival seed bank, a time capsule. Buy one, plant one, save the other, or just buy one. SurvivalSeedBank.com, 877-327-0365. It's good to start to become self-sufficient with this depression the central banks have designed to turn us into their economic slaves. SurvivalSeedBank.com or 877-327-0365. 877-327-0365. And one other great sponsor I want to tell you about. I love the swords, the knives, the machetes, the tools, the tasers, the pepper spray, everything you need at weaponsuniverse.com. That's weapons-universe. So just the word weapons and then -universe.com. And we've got a link up on Infowars.com as well. That's weapons-universe.com. And just a lot of amazing stuff and great prices by, you name it, names like Cold Steel, Smith & Wesson, weapons-universe.com, and they're great patriots. Check them out today at weapons-universe.com. Okay, Ray, I've been adding my points. You got cut off by the break. You were getting into, they're out in Nevada. It's one of the main command centers. I've just seen it on the news. People in trailers, and he's like, it showed one of the young men. He goes, I love video games. Now I control the Predator. And it showed him sitting there, and they're going, okay, you've got clearance. Hit him. Go ahead and give it to him. And I mean, just it's so bizarre to see this. Break it down for us.
Well, let me put it this way. The chaplains out there at Creech Air Force Base, they're working overtime because some of these young fellas have a conscience. They do their work during the day. They go home and have dinner with their families, and they think, the wife says, well, how'd things go at work today? And they can't quite say, well, we killed, we shot Hellfire missiles at 30 groups, and we're not real sure. So, long story short, these chaplains are actually being visited regularly by these poor NCOs who are ordered to do this kind of thing and have it on their conscience, to their credit. The other guys are the ones in Langley, Virginia, who are working for the CIA. They're the ones that have the joysticks there, and they're the ones that fly over Pakistan. Why? Well, because we're literally, or at least technically not at war with Pakistan, so it has to be the CIA, it can't be the Air Force. Well, it's the same sort of thing. People who identify these targets, either from people who may have grievances against this particular village, or people who think they see militants, whatever they look like, as distinguished from wedding parties, from 30,000 feet. So, the whole thing is an indication of the lack of leadership in the military of our country as well as in the political side, because you can't win a war this way. All you can do is alienate the affections of people. And what I keep telling people is that in Pakistan, if you take the population of Pakistan, 165, 170 million, okay, that's 40 million more than the population of Afghanistan, Iran, and Iraq put together. Besides, of course, Pakistan has nuclear weapons. Now, I would ask you, which country should be the most important not to alienate the population in?
Well, sir, we've seen Pakistani leaders, and we've got an article up on Infowars.com that's got the newscast and even ABC News, with Pakistani leaders saying, look, Your government is running a lot of the Taliban and Al-Qaeda, and they're using it to destabilize our country. And and that's what Hamid Gul, who I was bizarrely contacted by a year and a half ago, and he came on this show, and it made national news when he did. And he said that they're killing these tribal groups to actually get them up in arms. And that's what Gerald Celente, the trends forecaster, says. He says, look, the U.S. government isn't going to have to stage terror attacks as a pretext to get the American people to give their liberty up. You kill enough Pakistanis who are tribal, they're going to come over here and they're going to blow stuff up.
Well, we've seen the effects of that, haven't we? When Bush said we have to kill them over there before they come here, well, that was ridiculous in the extreme. What we need to do is figure out what's really going on in those countries, why they hate us. It ain't because of our democracy or of our freedom. Now, with respect to the Pakistanis, you can see U.S. high-level pronouncements say, we're working on the Pakistanis to show them, to demonstrate that their greatest threat is not from India. No, it's from these insurgents, these militants, these people that are in the tribal areas, right? Well, give me a break. There's no kind of rhetoric or logic that is going to persuade the Pakistanis that their main enemy isn't India. Of course it is. And so why do they keep feeding the Taliban? Why do they keep making it difficult for the U.S. to end the job there? Because they see an advantage in keeping the pot boiling in Afghanistan. They don't want an Indian-dominated government in Afghanistan. They want to keep the pot boiling. And so all these pronouncements about the U.S., we're going to probably persuade them. Well, we're going to persuade them that their strategic interest is not in India, but in these. Give me a break. We're never going to persuade them of that, and so this thing will just keep going and going. And the worst news, of course, is that our congressional people, even the good ones like Dave Obey, have now caved again, and it looks like there will be an escalation to the tune of $33 billion, and that will buy many more months of killing and war.
People can go to Common Dreams website and others and read your new article. Give folks that title again one more time, Ray.
Well, it's a letter to David Obey, who's the head of appropriations. It's a memo that says, look, you called Afghanistan a fool's errand. And then you said, yeah, but we have to fund it. That doesn't make any logical sense, Dave. What's really going on here? And what's really going on here is he's out of there in January. He wants to not alienate the affections of the Washington establishment, and he's letting go to the House a bill that will include enough lipstick, namely a $23 billion for teachers, so that the $33 billion for Afghanistan war will go through. That is unconscionable. He knows better than that, and he can call me an idiot liberal, or that's what he calls some of my friends. But what I'm telling him is that he's a terrible disappointment because he should have stood his ground and not confessed to be, quote, bone tired.
And again, Ray, this has nothing to do with liberal conservative. It's right and wrong. Obama is expanding the wars. Bush expanded it. This is the policy of the establishment.